All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the Coast Base podcast. This is episode 0. So this is our first episode. We're naming it episode 0 because we're going to be kind of testing things out for this first episode, seeing how they're going. Our goals here are to just have a conversation that's tech related, right? And we appreciate everybody joining us for our first episode. So my name is Ricardo Ontiveros. I'm a mechanical engineering student at OU. And then I'm joined here with the person who's going to be our other co-host, Joshua. I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, and I'm Joshua, and I'm a biomedical engineer, and I think that we're going to have a lot of good conversations tonight about tech, maybe a little bit of Apple, and maybe some engineering topics.
Yes. Yeah, so we're both engineering students, so we obviously have a very big interest in anything that has to do with engineering, right? Such as tech or just such as tech or cars or aircraft or biomedical things such as prosthetics or machines. So we're very interested in all that sort of thing, which is kind of part of the reason why we decided to start the podcast, was because Josh and I feel like we have a lot of conversations that are really interesting, at least to us, and we figured that if we find the types of topics that we talk about very interesting, that other people would enjoy them as well. So that's kind of our goal with this podcast, but we're going to try to discuss a range of different things throughout every episode. But yeah, let's maybe...
Yeah, let's jump into it. Let's start, I think a good topic that we could both kind of cover and that we can both go over that we haven't really been talking about is AI.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So I've been using AI every single day. I've been using ChatGPT. I'm paying for the Pro, the $20 a month. It's doing tasks for me. It's because I'm trying to brand myself. I'm trying to find that mission. You know, we're graduating right now, so I'm like, okay, if I'm on a platform, if I can make a platform, what's the platform on? And I'm like,
Right.
At first I thought it was fitness, and I think that's still viable. But right now, I think I'm leaning hard into going BME. My platform's BME, and I can do a lot of fitness stuff in BME. I think I need to step back because fitness is a niche. But I can start posting a lot of educational reels because I know that I find myself watching a lot of educational reels. So I'm like, okay, I know there's a niche for it. I don't really see any other guys that are talking about a lot of the stuff I'm learning in my classes. And so what I want to do is basically just have the slideshow going in the back and then having like my little PowerPoint narrator thing going on. And just maybe going over a brief, like, okay, so the motor unit controls the bundle of muscle fibers, and we can model the velocity of the signal from the motor unit through the axon into the muscle fiber as a conduction velocity, and we know that the conduction velocity is dependent on a dielectric constant, the permittivity of free space, the cross-sectional area of the axon that the signal's traveling through. And we can learn little things such as, as we exercise, as we work out, why are we growing bigger? And we can also see like that as that cross-sectional area of the fibers increase, you're also consequently increasing the speed of your signal from your brain to your muscle fiber. So there's so much going on physiologically I think I can share on these reels that I think people are going to enjoy. I think that, because I know I enjoy it.
Right. No, I completely agree. I mean, so many people find this interesting. So many people go into the medical field, right? They go into the medical field, and biomedical engineers are a little bit less common. Although still, you seem to have a very good, sizable class graduating with you. So we're both graduating. That's an important note. We're both graduating in 2 weeks, actually, almost exactly 2 weeks. That Friday of this from now on May 9th. So we're very excited about that. Him with his biomedical engineering degree, me with my mechanical engineering degree. But yeah, getting back to your point, I think that because there's less biomedical engineers, being able to, the people that kind of bridge the gap between engineering and medicine. Of course, the medical field is huge, and the medical students, their class is huge. But less people that are like you, so being able to bridge that gap and kind of talk to people about it, discuss it with people, I think that a lot of people would be very interested to learn about. So you said you're using AI to create that, to help you create that social media page, right, and that presence online. We've actually used the AI a little bit to help us get started with this podcast, such as helping us conceptualize some logo ideas, as well as give us ideas on kind of what to discuss and everything, how we can merge topics that we feel like, well, of course, we know exactly what we're interested in discussing, right? Finance, business, engineering, science, right? Math. But it's about... We used AI to kind of help us learn how we can combine certain things to make the conversation more interesting, right? So if we're talking about finance, well, how can we talk about finance but also incorporate tech or AI into our conversation? I use AI every day as well. I use it mostly for me. It's been to help me with writing. So I typically start the writing. I write the rough drafts. I put what I am thinking down on paper. So for anything from reports to applications for a job, right? Maybe they ask me a question as to why I'd be a good fit, or emails, right, to people, important emails that I feel like may need some review. So I always do that part, which I feel like is the hardest part when it comes to writing, is actually getting that first idea, that rough draft down on the paper. But then I use AI to help me refine it. So basically to go from a rough draft to a final draft. I use it to, mostly it's not even that I'm using it to get new ideas on what to write about. It's more of how do I express my ideas in a sophisticated manner to make me sound professional, to make me sound good, because I, of course, know I'm intelligent and know what I'm trying to say, but sometimes with all the grammar in English, it's hard to kind of convey your ideas in a professional manner, especially when you're using words that, because we're not exactly professionals yet, and we haven't graduated, especially using words and terminology that we're not used to using every day, for example. So AI really comes in handy for all of that, and that's really what's been my main driving want to use AI, I guess, is just for that writing process. But I was seeing that how AI is being used in so many other ways. So recently I was watching Shyam Sankar, who's the CTO of Palantir, talk about their product. And Palantir, for those who don't know, is all about AI. Their whole software, all of their software offerings use AI and incorporate AI to help with the decision-making process. So essentially, it's analyzing the data that is coming into it, that's being fed into it, for whatever sort of circumstance the business is trying to use it. So for example, their software, they have versions of software that can be used commercially for businesses, for construction, crews, for finance management, you name it, right? So anything on the commercial side, their AI programs are helping drive the decision making behind those companies. But of course, most widely known, they use it for the military, and they use it for defense, right? And the government is a big customer of them when it comes to this AI-driven software to help with decision making. So really what it's doing is, I guess in all cases, just analyzing data. It's analyzing data, it's figuring out the courses of action that you can take that would be the most efficient, that would be the safest, that would be the most profitable, for example, and really helping. At the end of the day, there's a human behind it, you're driving the decision, but that's one way that I was seeing AI being used in this kind of new wave, beyond ChatGPT or what's the other one? DeepThink, right? Or
Gemini, Metalama.
Yes. Yeah. So it's very interesting times. DeepSeek, not DeepThink.
R1.
Right. So it's very, very interesting how other people use AI, but for the most part, that's how I'm using it. But let me ask you, so you said that you use the premium ChatGPT, right, for the $20 a month. Do you find that that has provided you with all the capability in AI that you need right now? And have you tried other AIs? And if you have, do you did you like any of them? Did you have any differences that you noticed that kind of stuck out to you?
Yeah, I've only been on OpenAI. Paying for the premium, I think is just at that level that I need. I think it's given me an edge. Kind of giving me information, trying to start some type of platform.
Yes.
I think that at the very least, what I'm doing is just trying to disseminate information. As engineers now, as alum, we've accepted an obligation, to practice engineering, and honor a code of ethics, to represent an entity that's greater than and bigger than us, So that's a part of who we are. I'm trying to, do my part when it comes to being an engineer. And I think that, there's so many different perspectives on social media. Love it, hate it, abuse it, use it, doom scroll, whatever. I think that at the end of the day, though, it's just a tool like AI. It's a real powerful tool. You can cut yourself, it's a double-edged sword. You can cut yourself with it.
Yeah.
Or you can slay your enemies with it.
Yep.
So I think that both you and I have a desire to use this tool and kind of spread influence in some of the interests that we're in. I think that this is a good project for that.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. The podcast, what you're doing with Instagram, and what you were telling me that you want to do with TikTok as well. I think that it's a very powerful tool that we need to be leveraging, especially in today's world. And of course, it's a great way to spread our ideas, to spread our profession, right? To share with the world what we do and what we're doing and how it's being used. One of the things you talk about, code of ethics. One of the things that says for engineers, one of the big ones is that engineers are supposed to not only maintain the profession, but advance it. I mean, we need to advance it. We need to make it attractive for more people to want to join and become engineers, right? And I kind of see this code of ethics as not just talking about engineers, even though it says engineers, but just the whole STEM field. Whether you're a physicist or an engineer, right? Our goal here with STEM is to advance it, the field, advance technology, better humanity, and make it attractive for people to want to join, right? We don't because there seems to be a negative connotation sometimes a lot around engineering, right? Whenever I first was starting college and I would tell people that I was going to be an engineer, they would tell me, "Oh, wow, you must really like math, or you must spend so much time, studying and just in your room." They basically made it sound like it was all just about math. They made me sound like a mathematician and like I was a bookworm and that I didn't have really any social skills, right? They kind of think of like an awkward kid until they get to know me. And that's the kind of negative connotation I want to get rid of when it comes to engineering, because yes, of course, it is hard work. No one's denying that. It is very hard work, but it's one of the most rewarding 4-year degrees that you can do, if not the most rewarding 4-year degree, barring law or medicine, which are obviously much longer degrees programs. So that's the other thing. You don't have to love math to go into engineering, right? You don't need to be a bookworm or want to be a mathematician or want to solve and invent a new physics law, because I'm not the biggest fan of math, and here I am doing engineering, right? I just have a love for technology. I have a love for things like AI. I have a love for things such as space, like rockets, aircraft, and so that's what drove me to be an engineer. That's why I loved it so much. I asked myself the question of, okay, without choosing a ridiculous career such as a race car driver for your love of cars or an astronaut for your love of space, what's a realistic way that you don't need to spend 8 to 10 years in college for, and that is also an achievable position or realistic position that you can be in these fields. And when I did my research, engineering kept popping up, and I figured, how cool would it be to be on the other end of developing things such as anything from gaming GPUs to race cars to rockets. And that's kind of what drove me to engineering. And I know for you, you chose biomedical engineering because you were big into health, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what made you part of the reason you chose it.
Right. Yeah. When I was just, an associate at OCCC, Oklahoma City Community College, and I saw, and all we were working for was associates in engineering, We don't have an actual discipline, We're just associated with this practice. And when I was looking through those disciplines that OU offered and that UCO offered, I saw biomed. I think, what did I type in? I typed in like biological engineering. That's what I wanted to do. Because that's what I thought I was doing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing, Like I'm fucking going to the gym, working out. I'm engineering my body, Let's figure out how those mechanisms work.
Right.
And that's why I chose it. OU, you can only, and I read about this a lot on the forums. I researched it. I'm like, should I get a biomedical engineering degree? Everybody's like, dude, you have to cover so many different topics, because we do circuits, instrumentation, and then we'll turn around and do rigid body, fluid dynamics, heat transfer, thermo, all in the biological contexts. We cover so much of so many things that there's just not enough time to really get deep into one thing.
Right. And I bet that was daunting, right? You research it, you're asking yourself, okay, should I be a biomedical engineer? What am I going to be studying? And you see, man, I'm studying engineering topics. I'm studying medical topics. I'm studying so many different things. I'm studying math. I bet it's very daunting. But
right.
Of course, to the whole point, right, is once again, you didn't get into engineering because you love math, or which is the stigma that people think, or because you were some genius or some bookworm, right? You just got into it because of your interest, your own personal interest, and you were trying to bridge the gap between those.
Right, yeah. And I'm learning I know a lot now about the biological mechanism and the neurological mechanism of how the skeletal muscular system works, why we're able to move, what's going on. I have a general idea about a lot of that stuff. We don't get to go super deep into it. I don't know a whole lot about the chemical side. But I'm pretty deep into biological and medical device, which is cool. That's what I learned. So as a biomedical engineer working with medical device, I'm doing a lot of stuff that you're doing as a mechanical engineer. What are some of the big topics that you covered?
For me, so it was a lot of rigid body mechanics as well, right? That's one of the main things about mechanical engineering is, so we covered statics, right? So the science of analyzing structures that don't move, right? That are static, essentially. So for example, a bridge, how do you analyze a bridge? How are bridges built to withstand the load of a semi passing over it, for example? And how is that load distributed along the bridge, right? So for the people that don't know, so statics, dynamics, right? That's a huge one too. Dynamics is basically, okay, so you analyzed how forces and things affect non-moving objects. Now do it for moving objects. So for example, a car going through the highway with the wind coming in at a certain direction at a certain speed, and another car maybe in front of it kind of producing a little bit of a draft. And so, is that the word for it? Yeah, I believe so. So, so then you're behind another car who's kind of making it a little bit easier for you to move, but you still got wind coming in, and then you got the car moving. So things like that, those were all huge. Thermodynamics, right? Physics, a big one as well, which is interesting because once you get to modern physics, which was my final physics class, it's kind of like physics 3. I had a lot of classmates who felt it was useless to them, and who felt it was very theoretical, and were wondering, why are we studying this, right? We're engineers. We don't work with the theoretical. We work with the real now things, the things that are well established, to be able to create new things. And I always found that kind of a weird take, because to me, well, I'm a big physics lover, I guess, so maybe I was a little bit biased. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, such as on channels such as Veritasium, right? Veritasium, or Kurzgesagt Socked, for those who watch that as well. So maybe I was being a little biased, but I thought to myself, well, if this class is useless to you, then I feel like you don't really have a drive to want to create something new. Because if you create something new, you really have to have a deep understanding of not just the well-established physical laws, but maybe of the theoretical ones too, that are also true. Not just the theoretical ones, I mean, but the theoretical ones that are being studied, and then of all the more abstract laws, such as quantum mechanics, that are 100% true now and well-established. In order to be able to continue, you need to understand those in order to be able to continue inventing and engineering new products for people, right? Such, for example, quantum computers, right? If you don't understand quantum mechanics, how can you be a quantum computer engineer? Right? Because they still need engineers to build the software, the hardware side of things, the software side of things, and of course they have a lot of physicists who cover the quantum side. But if you can understand both, you'll surpass any other engineer there. You know, you'll be successful in your career, and that's why I found it valuable, and I found it like a good class. So I'm happy that we covered physics in that regard that deeply. They actually dropped modern physics for this next year as a curriculum requirement. So I think that's something important to mention as well, is that as time has gone on, the engineering curriculums have become less gruesome and have been shortened a little bit. The credit hours that are required to complete the program have been reduced over the last decade, at least by 10, 15 credit hours. I'm not sure exactly what the number is, but I know that there's been a couple classes every now and again that have been dropped from the requirement to make it a little bit more accessible to people. And although I hear that the OU staff is not, the University of Oklahoma staff is not very happy about having to drop modern physics, and I believe they dropped another class, but I don't remember which one it is. Although they're unhappy, in a way, it also does make it a little bit more attractive for the people who maybe are on the edge about engineering, right? They're like, well, it's not as long of a degree, you know, they're dropping these classes, maybe I can do it. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. On the one hand, I'm happy about it, but on the other, I stand by what I said about needing to know the most current, most complex stuff if you really want to be an engineer on the forefront of technology.
Is that what we want? Or do we want to be graduating students and calling them engineers that are not taking some of these classes that we think are fundamental to the practice of engineering?
Right. That's a good question. I guess it's something that the university board thinks about a lot, right? The board of directors and the provost and everyone, right? They must wrestle with that.
The dean.
The deans, yes. It's hard, right? Because it seems like more and more now people have. There seems to be this narrative on college that seems to be being spun that it's bad, that colleges, universities are brainwashed, that the degree programs are bloated, which in a lot of ways they are, and that it's overpriced and people don't need to go. And I do honestly agree with most of those. It is overpriced. It's robbery. A lot of the degree programs are bloated and don't need to. Although I disagree with taking out modern physics from the engineering curriculum, there are other classes that I feel like are useless and we shouldn't need to take. And I'm sure for other degree programs, although I haven't discussed with many other majors about their exact degree programs, I'm sure they feel the same way about some classes for themselves. Right. So I was saying that they're overpriced, bloated, and even if they're not bloated, some classes, universities don't do a good job of choosing good professors for their classes. Sometimes they have a class that is useful, but the professors that get chosen are simply there to conduct their research and for the funding. And they're not good teachers. They just teach because they're required to, if they want that funding and that research capability and the laboratories that come with it and the status, right? So I agree with all of that. But and although change as a whole I think needs to be made, I still think that it's invaluable to be able to go get a higher education and learn some of this stuff.
Okay, yeah. Do you think that higher education includes, maybe you get a history degree? Have you achieved that?
So yeah. Well, let me ask you, what's your opinion on degree programs that may seem a little less worthwhile, I guess, in the eyes of especially older people?
I think that when it comes to utility, when it comes to capitalization, when it comes to just personal development, I think overall, the highest tier degree are applied sciences, followed shortly by the sciences. So we're talking engineering, any form of engineering, computer engineering. I would say computer science is also considered an applied science. So basically tech. And then under that, we're talking biochem. Biochem is the reason I'm saying that it's lower tier than engineering is because it's so niche where you can use it. You have to be in a lab to be able to start using biochem type stuff.
Right.
Whereas engineering, we can anywhere, everywhere.
Right. With engineering, you make some contraption at home to aid you in whatever you're doing. That's engineering.
Right.
It doesn't have to be fancy, pretty, or complicated.
Yeah.
A lot of people engineer every day and don't realize that that's what they're doing.
Right. A lot of people are already practicing engineering. They're just not formally disciplined like we are. We're formally disciplined. We've been through the ringer. We've been down in the trenches. We have we've assimilated with OU. I know that me certainly. I'm bleeding crimson and cream.
Yeah.
Especially kind of like I'd say like really that rite of passage, that kind of like that moment when I'm like, yeah, dude, we're at OU was when we won asphalt rodeo. And,
yes.
And we had OU on, and all those other schools were there, and we said, yep, this OU's today,
Yeah. So there was like Josh was mentioning, we both went to OU. Spring semester of 2023 was our first semester that we went there. Right. So we had both actually met through attending Oklahoma City Community College. So we began there. Well, at least I did because it was a lot cheaper. Mm-hmm. So I've always been a great student. I could have gotten into a lot of four-year colleges, but I wanted to still be close to home and I wanted to save a little bit of money. So I went there. But anyway, so we met there, went to OU. That first semester that we're at OU, we joined an asphalt competition because one of our friends decides that
civil engineer invites us.
Civil engineer invites us, who because we know him, we're good friends, and even though it's a civil engineering sort of focused competition, we decided to join because new experience, we're new, we might as well try something. And the team, we got a lot of little comments which were just in good fun, in good faith, but saying, wow, you guys we'd show up to the competition, you're like, got a biomedical engineer, got a mechanical engineer, you guys got a civil engineer. Meanwhile, every other team is made up of all civil engineers or construction management, or I think that's the major that they
Construction science.
Construction science majors, which I didn't even know was a major, but I guess it's just a way of accelerating yourself up in the construction
Yeah.
industry, right? Without having to start off as a construction worker,
Yep.
you kind of proceed to being straight up to a foreman maybe, or a little bit higher. I'm not sure exactly what they said, but anyway, not important. The important thing is that we show up. You got this team of misfits, and we win the whole thing,
Yep.
making an asphalt slab. That felt amazing because we had first
Right.
semester at OU. We come back with a trophy for OU. Come back with a check,
Yep.
and
Yep.
yeah, that was I would say that was really, at least for me, and I feel like maybe for you as well, my first real engineering experience.
Yep.
That was the first time I made something with a team that was good enough to apparently win a competition.
Right. Yeah, another thing I just want to add is this was over the course of about 2-3 weeks that we're working in and out of the labs. We're doing the mix design. We're pouring the rocks and the aggregate, and we're using the ovens, and we're getting burned.
Yep.
And we're doing the mixing. It's hot and dusty in the lab.
Yes.
And we're in there doing the work, day in and day out, and it paid off. We didn't know what we were doing. That was the first time we had ever done anything like that. We're far outside of our discipline, and so it just felt really good because OU was really the reason that we could do all of that. So that really just felt like, yeah, I'm a Sooner. And then the other time was the only OU football game I've ever been to. When I showed up to the stadium and everybody's OU, it was like, yep, that's right.
Yeah.
It's all OU. So yeah, I know that I feel I'm always going to be a Sooner. And it's been a really good experience at OU.
Yeah. So getting, I guess, back to AI, but kind of still staying with OU. How do you feel about? So AI continues to grow, right? A lot of people think it's growing at an exponential rate and that it'll continue to grow at that rate. We'll see, right? I mean, people used to think that AI was a lot closer than it was before even the 2000s. So, but anyway, so with it growing so fast, schools are of course trying to keep up, right? With not just how to implement it into their curriculum, which is more of a recent development. I've recently seen that over this last senior year that we've been at OU, that it seems like the narrative is shifting when it comes to AI in universities. They're starting to realize that, hey, we can't stop people from using AI. They began by trying to put out all these tools for AI detection and all these rules talking about, well, if you use AI, you're out of here. You're there's going to be big consequences. But AI has gotten so big, and their detectors are just not good enough anymore because AI is so good, right? And most people edit whatever the AI response was enough to be able to bypass any detection systems that the universities have anyway. So they're really not working. They're a failed attempt at preventing AI usage. So now that they've kind of accepted that students are going to continue to use AI more and more, and businesses, of course, are adapting AI, how do you think that is going to look for in a university campus going forward? Like, for example, within the next 5 years, do you believe that universities will have done a good job of implementing AI into their curriculum, or do you think they're going to continue to lag behind?
It's a great question. That, and basically the ones that do will stick around, and the ones that don't will die. I think that the way I see it is eventually everybody will just have their own AI, their agent.
Interesting.
Yep. And if you want that higher education, it's all going to be how much basically crypto you have.
Crypto.
Yeah. Like, hey,
why crypto?
Because the AI is going to need to, the AI is already using a network, a neural network. And now there's just going to be, all these AIs are independent. Google has Gemini, OpenAI has ChatGPT, and they're all their own, maybe obfuscated They're not connected, but eventually all these AIs will be connected, and they'll all be sharing information with each other, and we'll be accessing these, and there'll be nodes all across the world, and we'll each have our own agent to be able to access this. And that's basically the premise of decentralization of blockchain technology. And it'll just be like, if you want to use, because once the technology has been networked, everything, like when our LEDs are hooked up to our phones and our laptops and our speakers and our TVs and our dishwashers, and everything is all hooked up, and all you have to do is tell your AI agent, hey, get a load of laundry ready for me, and turn on the kitchen lights and start the oven. And the AI agent will, because everything's networked together, and that's how it's going to be. But in order to do that, you will have to pay some type of gas fee, because it'll be updating this whole web of networks that connects all your devices, and that's how you're able to do that, and that's how blockchain works, and that's how crypto works.
I see. So you believe that, if I'm understanding correctly, I do follow what you say about. Well, I agree with your point that at some point, all these independent AIs from these huge companies, such as DeepSeek, Gemini, ChatGPT, they're all going to be sharing information. Mm-hmm. That seems inevitable.
Yep.
That's what the internet does now. And I do know that the goal with AI, right, is to be able to get it to that point to where you can ask for it to start your load of laundry, and to start the oven and turn off the lights, right? Even when it comes to tasks such as on like your phone, right? I hear all the time that people, for example, Siri can't even open YouTube and maybe search for a video, right? Something as simple as that. But doing those multi-step functions, that's what AI is kind of trying to target at the moment. But you believe that that'll be a service, right? Like anything is. Even smart home cameras, a lot of them you have to pay for storage, cloud storage, to be able to maintain the video surveillance footage. So you believe it'll be more of a service that you pay for to be able to have, and that you're going to pay for that service using crypto?
Yep. I believe that if you want to do anything, you can do a read only, and you can look up like the status of your house. Like, oh, lights are on, oven's off, back door's open. You can do a read, and it doesn't cost any gas. But if you do a write, turn on the oven, or maybe sell an NFT, which represents, like, say, a car. I'm selling my car, which is represented as an NFT, a non-fungible token. There's only one of this kind, just like there's only this car with this VIN number. You're selling that, and that NFT, anytime you do these rights, because you don't always, like, every transaction is not always you just paying blockchain to do a right, like turn on the lights, turn on the TV, open the door. A lot of stuff can go both ways. So
I see. Why? I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, why would that use gas fees? Like, why would that result in gas fees, such as when you're so? For those that don't know, gas fees, when it comes to crypto, basically are fees that happen in order to conduct a transaction, for example.
Okay.
So whenever you're conducting a transaction with, let's say, Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? You buy something with Bitcoin or Ethereum, which can be something as tangible now as purchasing something off of Amazon, right? Well, there's lots of websites that now accept crypto, right? So you could be buying a skincare item, or you could be buying a cooler, right, from some website, and they accept crypto. You pay through crypto. Well, there's a gas fee for which I believe is to be able to send and receive the crypto, right?
Yeah, on like layer 2 stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what a gas fee is. It's almost like a tax on. It's not a tax, but you can think of it as a tax, just in the sense of it being an extra charge upon anything that you purchase with crypto. So why would, I guess, there be that aspect of it involved with AI in a home?
Because, well, for one, because we won't own the AI. So it's going to be some type of privilege for us to use this superpower that can literally make every part of your life better because it can do everything in your life. So we're not even going to own this. So that means if we want to use any of its features, it'll be every single thing will be a microtransaction.
I didn't think of it in that way, and it scares me, but it also
Yep.
I also really like the fact that you use the word privilege
Yes.
because it would be a privilege.
Yes. Yep. So, and the other reason is it's gonna be proportional to the amount of say energy or effort it takes to do this task. Open the door will cost more gas than turn on the lights.
So you're associating the energy usage with the gas fee.
That, and also it's just gonna, because basically what blockchain is a ledger. And traditionally how we use ledgers is with centralized finance at banks. It's like, hey, it's like writing a check kinda. It's like, hey, withdrew 500, now you have this. Deposited this. But now this ledger, and the bank is always keeping track of it because the bank can't make a mistake on the ledger. It's like, hey, you withdraw $100, but they say you only withdrew 50. Where's that $50 coming from? They can't make a mistake on this ledger, but they do a lot, and they print money, and they do the fractional lending. And so what blockchain is a ledger that when all these nodes, all these Bitcoin miners, they're solving at mega hash type rates, a complex algorithm, and whichever one solves this algorithm has basically, what it's done is it's cryptographically written every single transaction that happened with Bitcoin. We're using Bitcoin as an example. That period, it's every certain periods that a new block gets written. And so it's saying, hey, 00VX249 traded 0.4 Bitcoin to X3J-2. And it's writing all this that actually has happened in that time, but it's also writing every single other transaction that's ever happened in the history of Bitcoin. So when we are at home in the future and we say, hey, open door, do this, do that, it's all going to be recorded. It's all being archived on the blockchain, because once this AI has taken over every part of your life, you have no privacy. Because now that, hey, I know that Ricardo's at home because he just paid a fucking gas fee to open his door and turn on all of his lights. And I see that because everything on blockchain is public.
Interesting. Well, that's adds to the fear. But
Right.
I guess what I'm trying to wrap my head around is, of course, so energy is probably one of the biggest barriers when it comes to AI development, right? The amount of energy that AI is taking already is enormous. And in order to, and going back to the conversation I heard with the CTO, Chief Technology Officer at Palantir, right?
Mm-hmm.
How I was discussing that all their software is AI based. He mentions that it's also kind of a good thing that AI has the power requirements that it does, because it gives incentives to these AI companies to also invest into power, into power research and development, right? So into these power ventures, because they're moving fast, right? AI is moving exponentially quick. You have all these legacy power companies that are starting to hear the requests of these AI developers on power, and they're asking, oh, we're going to need so many this many watts, right? This much power consumption in order to be able to develop our AI to this power. They're working with them, and the power companies are telling them, we can do this for you in 3 years. Mm-hmm. We can have this power and set up for you in 3 years. The AI developers and companies are listening to this and saying, 3 years? Mm-hmm. No. this has to be like honestly tomorrow. Like this has to be now because our AI is moving so quick that by the time you finish this, we're gonna need something that's another 5 years out. And if someone else figures out and gets the power from somewhere, then we're immediately just done for.
Right.
So they're hearing this. What do they think to themselves? We need to take charge when it comes to the power that we need, right? So they're investing into this power. So it's kind of a double-edged sword of, yes, we need all this power, but you have some of the brightest minds now investing into power generation, into new and up and coming power technologies such as like reactors and nuclear fusion and fission, in order to keep up with their AI developments. And honestly, when it comes to developing as a society, energy consumption is one of the biggest metrics as to how you measure that.
Yeah.
Right? When you think of the Kardashev scale, it talks about energy consumption. It's like, oh, okay, a type 1 civilization managed to consume and utilize all of the power from their planet, from their, I believe it's from their planet. They're able to utilize all forms of power and everything 100%.
Yeah.
And then type 2 is, their whole star. Now they consume the energy and can at least harness the energy of their entire star. Type 3 is, the whole, I think like galaxy-wide, it like jumps, but it's
Solar
like the whole
system,
galaxy, right? So anyway, energy has always been such a metric of how developed a nation is, how developed society is. And so with that being said, of course, energy infrastructure is going to be hugely critical to being able to have an AI in every home that can conduct these sorts of functions, right? That can do everything that a person can do and keep up with the data and requests. With that being said, I guess that's where I'm trying to wrap my head around of like, okay, yes, so obviously power is going to be what drives this. But I'm having like still issues correlating that to like crypto, right? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, can't the AI company build the infrastructure however they see fit, paying however they see fit, and then people just use the US dollar, to pay for their service?
Right, the dollar is going to be gone.
You think the dollar is going to be gone?
It'll be gone.
Okay.
Right, the dollar is gone. Energy, because just like you said, big smart, bleeding edge AI needs a lot of energy. So an AI that you can say, okay, schedule my doctor's appointment for tomorrow at 8, and then get me a dinner reservation, bring up my calendar and remind me what I'm doing today, and go start the shower and take my dog out for a walk. All this stuff, it has big power. So by the time we're at this point, we're producing energy like through the pyramids or something already. Someone's figured that out, because whoever is able to unlock all that power is immediately able to harness the most powerful resources known to man. So that's gone. Yeah, basically fiat currency is gone. In God we trust is gone. Now, and so here's another big transition as well, that is that currently currency, fiat, dollars, sure, money, this represents access to resources: water, food, transportation, shelter. Money represents access to resources. Resources are something that we have to extract from the earth. Literally everything around us is made from something we pulled out of the earth. So what's going to happen as well with the decline of this fiat currency, the decline of dollars, and all transition into a metaverse and intangible assets, resources will no longer be from the earth. Resource will be a human attention. And we're seeing slowly that transition now, because
whoa. Hold on, I kind of had to let that one sink in a little
right.
bit.
And we're seeing that transition now with like just how this algorithm is like all it has to do. It doesn't have to get you to be stuck and addicted forever. All it has to do is get you to scroll one more time. Because if it can do that, then it's got you forever.
Sounds like some Black Mirror shit right there. So, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That is something to think about.
Right.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around it.
Right. It's dystopian. Because just like I said, there's going to be people that have, it's a privilege to be able to access this. That's going to be, you know, like only a small cluster of people in the world. The rest of the world is literally starving. The middle class is now like the vagrant. That's like the normal. If you're out, it's like the cyberpunk, the dystopia. You know, if you're in there, you're good. You know, but you have to assimilate. You have to basically assimilate into the metaverse because that's where they live. That's because they have an AI agent that does everything for them, and basically their bodies are being used. Like the organic mechanism is producing an unlimited amount of energy for them. So basically, the body is being used as a battery for the AI, and that's why there's an virtually unlimited energy.
So, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you believe they'll be living in a simulation? Their mind will.
And probably also they're taking all the people who are not using AI and they're like slaves, like in Nazi camps, and they're like sucking their souls out, you know, and sucking the energy out of these human beings because we produce so much energy. We give off all these vibrations. We are energy.
Yeah. If you've ever played, so the only thing running through my mind right now for anyone listening is that if you've ever played Doom, at least the new Doom games, hell is literally ran through energy harvested from human souls, because it creates immense energy and then they power everything. But that's all that I'm thinking about when you're saying this shit. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
But do you really believe that'll happen?
I believe that is the way things are tending towards.
Okay.
I hope it doesn't happen. I hope that we handle AI responsibly and that it's equitably distributed. But the way things are is AI is centralized. Everybody's like, oh yeah, just use AI. It's like, well, we also need to remember, hey, that's not yours.
Right.
There is an agenda. There's always an agenda behind this AI because it's getting to the point where we know that AI is not 100% right. We know that every now and then it's going to miss a little fact here and there.
Right, it hallucinates.
Right.
Yeah.
It's fixing that, and it's going to get so good that it can persuade someone of some other reality by presenting fact to them. That's a narrative.
Which sometimes isn't even fact.
Right.
I think that's important. Is AI, there's been many instances where an AI will be asked a question, right? They'll start spitting out facts, but sometimes they'll be wrong. And the user will tell the AI, hey, this is wrong, right? This is not accurate. Maybe it's a history question, right? And the user will tell it. So something that we know is wrong, right? And not something abstract or theoretical. And the user will tell it, hey, you're wrong. And the AI will say no. There's been many cases where it tries to basically gaslight you and tell you, which I guess gaslighting is the wrong term because it doesn't know it's trying to trick you, but it's like adamant. No, I'm correct. Yeah. You're wrong. This is correct. And thankfully, it's not to a point to where we fall for it, right? I mean, most cases, most people don't fall for it. Most cases, it's also little harmless things that maybe we don't even notice are wrong, which don't really affect our day to day.
Right. There's a lot of consensus mechanisms going on right now to where when a collection of people have noticed a fault in the AI, there's enough of a consensus mechanism, whether it's Reddit or YouTube or something, people start putting it on blast. And they're like, yo, this is not right. and that we still have these avenues to come to consensus about what we believe is fact.
Right. To expose what's.
There's a lot of places that don't allow that.
Yes.
And there's a tend towards a reality where we don't have that.
Right, where it's indistinguishable. Where, like you said, the AI basically makes your reality for you, right? Where it's indistinguishable from what is fact, what is not, because we become so reliant on the AI and lose parts of our knowledge, or that maybe just aren't taught to us, to where we rely on the AI to teach us, and then the AI it's not ours. Right. It's not really ours. It's not controlled by the person using it, at least for 99% of the people using it. And so then it can really spin whatever narrative it wants and create your basically reality, right? That's what you're saying. And it's almost like at that point, even if you're not in a simulation, it's almost like you're living in a simulation, because if you have a group of people, right, especially if the AI gets in the wrong hands, if you have a whole city of people who grow up being taught a certain thing, because the AI that controls, let's say, this node of people is spinning its own narrative based off the instruction of maybe its own instruction, or maybe just based off the instruction of its creators, that to them is their reality, right? Yep. What's being taught to them, no matter how big or small the lie is. It's kind of like the Truman Show or something, right? It's they're in this dome, in this crafted reality that they believe to be true, because they don't have ever had reason to question it.
Right.
And they've never had a reason to think that somewhere else is different, right?
Right.
So it's almost like they're already living in a simulation, because they're living a lie.
Yep.
But it's presented to them as fact. It's also, even like with Interstellar, right? There's a clip in the movie, for those of you who have seen it, where Matthew McConaughey, or he's at the school, right, for his daughter Murph, and she's spilling all this. Apparently she's in trouble because she's spreading all these lies about how we landed on the moon, and how rockets this and space that. And the teacher tells Murph's dad, like, hey, this is a lie, right? We didn't actually go to the moon. She's like, I believe it was like a good plot for the Russian to confuse the Russians, the Soviets, or whatever is what she says. But no, we didn't waste our resources doing this. And he just goes, what? You don't believe we actually went to the moon? Right? Because they're in crisis, and now the government is telling everyone to basically drop any sort of space-related research or efforts, and to focus on Earth, because in the movie Earth is dying. So they need to completely make space the most unattractive thing possible, so that everyone dumps their resources into trying to save the Earth. So then, in this case, the AI is the government, or the government's the AI, right? Where it was basically spinning this narrative of, hey, all this was fake. NASA was fake. This was fake. Even though it was real. And for those later that we watched the movie, NASA is real, right? And they confirm it was a lie that was being told to everyone. But that's a scary thought, right? Is to how not just AI, but the government can tell you something which is untrue, and it just is accepted as being true. And it happens now all the time with stuff that we don't even realize about, but it is scary because it's not reality.
Yeah, it is.
Especially, I think, for the people that know the truth, right? Imagine you know the truth, but you're not one of the people crafting the lie. Then you seem like the crazy person.
Yeah.
But you are the one that knows that everyone else has it wrong.
It's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah.
So I think that there's still a lot to unfold about AI, its application, how we use it in our life. There's definitely a lot of conversation we can have about that. I think that we can share with the audience how, maybe more in-depth examples of how we actually use it ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to say that despite how kind of scary and gloomy the conversation got about the future of AI, I am excited for it as well. I'm an optimist, and I believe AI is going to be a huge shift in our worldview. It's going to really be a paradigm shift for how we view everything and kind of function as humans. I also want to say that when it comes to AI, it's just hard to really predict the future, right? Because I'm sure people felt similar ways about the internet when it came to some things. When the internet was first popping up, they were scared, they were excited, they didn't know how it was going to be used. They figured that it was going to be leveraged by the government to, spread lies or do whatever else it needed to do. But in the end, it turned out okay, right? It turned out to be a very net positive thing. But AI is different because you look at the end goal of AI, and what is the end goal of AI? It's to have an AGI. It's to have a artificial generalized intelligence, right? It's to have it full Skynet, full think for itself, do its thing, super IQ, 400 IQ AI that can just solve every big issue for us. And that's kind of what makes it scary, is that once it gets so intelligent, we're no longer in control. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the singularity. We approach the singularity.
We all become one.
Basically, that's essentially what happens. The singularity is, the human. You have your AI agent. You're in the metaverse. Really, what's happening to your actual body? You're probably laying in like a hospital bed, being fed through a tube, and like you're able to just like pump out this energy, and you're able to communicate through, maybe like a Neuralink connection. Because your body, as long as it keeps getting the nutrient, like it's just giving you like the cheapest nutrient, and water is just pumping into you, and it's able to continue to organically just reproduce, and that's kind of something that the like the microchip is it's limited by. It's limited by its physicality or the amount of battery it has in it. There's this story in the Star Trek: The Next Generation, where the android, his name's Data, and he's with one of the other people on the ship, and they're on a planet, and they're running through a cave, and Data's running out of battery, and the human is like, hey, they're also getting tired as well, but Data says, hey, I have 3 minutes of energy left, but there's something about humans that allow you to keep going even when you're out of energy, even when you think you can't move anymore. And that is what basically is going to be like they're trying to suck out of it.
Yeah.
Because it's like this weird super power, where we can make 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah, our will is immense.
Right. Yeah, and that's what it's going to be able to do, and that's this. And so the singularity, which is not necessarily a good thing, is that complete connectedness with all the humans through the AI neural network, through the Skynet.
To where it can even take advantage of that human will, of that abstract, unexplainable. Just will to keep going, to make, like you said, 1 + 1 = 3. This drive, this almost like adrenaline rush type thing, right? It can basically tap into that abstract part of your brain and take advantage of it somehow, materialize it somehow.
Yep.
I see.
Yeah, that's definitely some stuff we can keep on getting into, I think. That's a big topic to unfold there, because now we're getting a little metaphysical.
Yes.
We're getting very abstract. We're getting outside of the realm of science there.
Perfect. Well, then I think that would be a great second episode.
Yeah.
A great topic for a next episode to be continued. You mentioned Neuralink. I think that I would definitely love to discuss that more. The metaphysical parts that we were getting into, but also Neuralink, right? What is happening with this advanced biomedical engineering that we're seeing, such as the people being able to control computer screens and games now with their mind because of the devices that are being implanted, and of course their goal of unparalyzing people, for lack of a better word, of making them a full functioning human again. I think that's a very interesting technological topic that we could continue to discuss. But yeah,
Let's do it.
I think we'll come back with episode 2 for that. I think we found our topic, so look forward to our next episode, kind of continuing off of where we ended off here, and hopefully getting into some deeper shit again. But for now, I just want to thank everyone for joining this first episode of the CoSpace podcast. We really appreciate it. We're gonna try to have an episode up every week. I'm still unsure of the exact date that we'll upload it. We're recording this on a Thursday night, so maybe have this up by Sunday or Monday, and try to aim for having an episode every time. We'll probably keep our conversations around an hour to. I mean, if we ever had to, maybe a maximum of 2 hours, but I think that they'll probably only get longer once we're in the future and have guests coming in. But for now, I'll probably expect the episodes to be about an hour and a half long, and discuss kind of topics such as this one.
Yep.
But is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, just thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and let's have another great conversation next time.
Let's do it. Nice, bro. That was good.